Hello athletes and fitness enthusiasts, Jürgen Swinkels here. Today we are going to talk about exercise-associated muscle cramps or eamcs. Muscle cramps are quite common in sports. For example, towards the end of a soccer match in hot conditions or in the final part of an endurance race such as a marathon or a triathlon. A muscle cramp is defined as an involuntary, hard and painful contraction of the muscle, and it is often accompanied by an intense knotting of the muscle. Muscle cramps are usually of rapid onset, and they are a nuisance at best and a showstopper at worst. So let's have a closer look at the causes and treatments of muscle cramps. There is still much debate about what actually causes muscle cramps. This is partly because it is very difficult to study cramps, since their occurrence is highly unpredictable, making it very hard to study cramps in a controlled laboratory environment. Relief from the painful contraction of a cramping muscle may come from stretching or lengthening the muscle. However, relief is mostly not immediate. It may take several seconds before the muscle starts to relax, and even can take minutes before the muscle is completely at ease again. In the past, cramping was mostly linked to dehydration and electrolyte imbalances, but this idea has been rebuked some time ago. It does not mean that dehydration and electrolyte imbalances cannot play a role in the development of cramps, because it seems clear that more cramping occurs in long-lasting events in hot conditions when sweat and electrolyte losses are high. However, it seems that the true cause of cramps is likely to originate in the nerves. Having said that, the actual origin of cramps is still a subject to debate. And since it's still up for debate, from a practical point of view, it makes sense to look at the factors described as influencing the manifestation of muscle cramps. So there is fatigue, central or peripheral, exercise intensity or competition, exercise duration, muscle length, environmental aspects such as temperature and humidity, the hydration status, sweat loss, mineral loss, and muscle ischemia or reduced blood flow. And besides the list of factors that may influence muscle cramps, there is also a long list of remedies to fight muscle cramps. This tally includes some treatment that are supported by evidence and some that are more like urban myths or grandma's home remedies. So treatments for muscle cramps that may or may not work in some people some of the time are stretching, staying hydrated, staying salted, staying cool, intravenous saline solution, potassium, magnesium, calcium, pickle juice, mustard, kimchi, vinegar, quinine, massage, pinching your upper lip, muscle cooling, electrical stimulation of skin, muscle or tendons, orthotics or foot support, analgesic pads, bar of soap on the bedsheet, medications such as sedatives, anti-seizure drugs, and sodium-calcium channel blockers. Now let's have a closer look at 5 of these popular remedies, starting with fluid and electrolytes. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence that prolonged exercise in extreme heat is often associated with the occurrence of muscle cramps, and there are plenty of case reports. But unfortunately, not a lot of well-controlled investigations to back up these claims. For example, In a 2004 study by Swellness and others, with 72 runners participating in an ultra-distance road race, it was found that dehydration and altered serum electrolyte balance were not associated with muscle cramps. Rather, cramps were more prevalent in endurance runners competing at a fast pace. This suggests that exercise at high intensity is a risk factor for muscle cramps. In another study by Moen in 1986, 82 runners were observed before and after a marathon. It was found that the serum electrolyte concentrations, including sodium and potassium, were not different between those suffering from cramps and those not so affected, either before or after the race. So it appears that dehydration and salt losses may not be the primary causes of cramps, but they may still contribute to fatigue, and fatigue seems an important factor in muscle cramps. It also means that drinking and preventing dehydration is important in order to reduce fatigue and thus reduce the chances of muscle cramps. Number 2 is pickle juice. Pickle juice has received quite a bit of attention and is popular, especially in the US. The effects of pickle juice are not because of its high electrolyte concentration, as sometimes is claimed. In fact, it takes about 30 minutes for even small volumes of pickle juice to leave the stomach, so blood electrolyte levels would not increase quickly enough to explain cramp relief. However, the acetic acid in pickle juice has a pungent taste, and it is proposed to chemically stimulate a reflex in the back of the throat as it triggers TRP, or transient receptor potential channels. I will talk more about this in a little later. Anyway, the reflex that is triggered has been shown to decrease activity in motor neurons, which causes muscle relaxation. Number 3 is magnesium. One potential treatment that is marketed to prevent muscle cramps is magnesium supplementation. Magnesium is a common mineral in our diets, and extra oral supplements of this mineral are widely available. Longer-term supplementation with magnesium is supposed to reduce the risk of muscle cramping. This suggests that this supplementation might restore a normal magnesium status in cramp sufferers. It also implies that if magnesium status is adequate, no effects of supplementation might be expected. However, in 2012 review of 7 scientific papers by Garrison and others, the authors concluded that it is unlikely that magnesium supplementation provides clinically meaningful cramp prophylaxis. Number 4, quinine. There is some evidence that the well-known malaria medicine quinine can reduce muscle cramps and cramp intensity. However, the evidence is judged as moderate to low by Al Tawil and others in 2015. Moreover, there is no evidence to judge optimal dosage or duration of quinine treatment. And if quinine works, it is likely that the mechanism is very similar to that of pickle juice. It has to be noted, however, that in some countries, prescription of quinine is severely restricted because of its supposed side effects. And lastly, there are the TRP channel activators, as we already briefly discussed when talking about pickle juice. Transient receptor potential, or TRP channels, are a large family of receptors that sense various signals, including temperature and chemicals, and sending this information to the central nervous system. TRP channels are widely distributed across body tissues, such that every cell in the body likely expresses one or more TRP subtypes, and every subtype is sensitive to different stimuli. For example, TRPV1 is sensitive to high temperatures and capsaicin, a compound found in chili peppers that causes hot and spicy sensations. TRPA1 is sensitive to ginger and cinnamon. Both TRPV1 and TRPA1 channels are present in linings of the mouth, esophagus and stomach. The theory is that strong sensory stimuli can cause generalized depression of impulses to the muscles. Given the widespread expression of TRP channels in the mouth and in the digestive tract, orally administered TRP channel activators may decrease excitability of motor neurons. In one study by Craighead and others in 2017, it was observed that ingesting TRP channel activators positively improved several cramp-related features. The TRP channel activator used in this study was a commercially available beverage called Hot Shot, which is designed to trigger many different TRP channels and includes organic spice extracts such as capsaicin, ginger, cinnamon, lime juice and salt. However, these results have to be interpreted with caution. There is little doubt that cramps are of neurogenic origin and that TRP channels play an important role in sensing various aspects of a beverage. However, this does not necessarily mean that a fiery tasting beverage can prevent or treat muscle cramps. It is an interesting theory that needs thorough testing and further research, but so far evidence is limited at best. One obvious issue with these studies is that it is impossible to disguise a spicy intervention, and so it is impossible to compare with a true placebo. Also, one has to be aware that if this remedy is working, it would not actually do anything to the cause of the problem, it would just provide relief of the symptoms. I can add a little self-experience about cramping as well. I've suffered a lot from cramping, especially when I started to race Olympic distance triathlons in hot and humid weather. Always during the run leg of the race, I used to endure significant cramping. And I tried everything from magnesium supplementation and salt tablets to quinine, but nothing worked. I even seriously considered quitting triathlon because of the returning, disappointing cramping experience. But in the end, I did the exact opposite. And only after significantly stepping up my training volume and intensity, the cramping during races simply disappeared and never came back again. Even during Ironman distance races and even after I reduced my training again to a more moderate level. So there you have it, scientific and practical views about exercise-associated muscle cramps. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. We're dropping videos like this on YouTube on a regular basis. And if you have questions, leave them in the comments box below with hashtag School of Sports Nutrition, and I'll do my best to get in there and get those questions answered right away.